It all started innocently enough. One Friday evening, there I was at this dull work conference, drowning in a sea of PowerPoint slides and corporate jargon. Mark, my ever-diligent husband, was away on yet another business trip. Probably in some godforsaken hotel room, debating the merits of tax reforms or some equally riveting topic. That's when I met Thomas. He was charming in that effortless way that makes you both envious and captivated. Sharp wit, easy smile, oh, and those lingering glances. At first, I thought, oh, this is just harmless fun. But those eyes suggested something more. He made the whole boring affair a tad more interesting. Maybe too interesting. Weeks passed, and life trudged on. Mark was still busy, still reliable, still boring. Then I saw Thomas again at a mutual friend's gathering. There was this electric charge in the air, the kind that makes your skin tingle and your heart race. We danced, physical closeness that ignited something in me, a spark I hadn't felt in years. Damn it, the guilt hit me like a ton of bricks, but so did the thrill. A thrilling, guilt-ridden mess. We started meeting for coffee. Innocent, right? Just two professionals discussing work. Except, our meetings grew longer. Laughter filled the gaps that Mark's silence left. Those subtle flirtations? Yeah, they weren't so subtle anymore. It was exciting, scarily so. I found myself looking forward to those coffee breaks more than I should have. They stood in stark contrast to the mundane routine of life with Mark. The coffee meetings soon turned into late-night texts. At first, they were playful, a bit cheeky even. But then they became suggestive, towing the line of propriety and diving headfirst into dangerous territory. Thomas made me feel desired, a sensation that had been missing in my marriage for too long. It was exhilarating, confusing, and downright terrifying. Friendship and affair were no longer clear-cut lines but a blurred, intoxicating mix. Of course, I confided in Sarah. She's my best friend, after all. Told her all about Thomas. She was the voice of reason, warning me about the dangers, yet there was this glimmer of intrigue in her eyes. Sarah's mixed reactions mirrored my internal conflict perfectly. It's like she understood the crazy thrill of it all but still held onto her moral compass. I, on the other hand, seemed to have lost mine somewhere between a latte and a late-night text. Then came the weekend getaway. Mark was off again, doing whatever it is that keeps him away from home so much. Thomas and I seized the opportunity, heading to a nearby town under the pretext of a solo retreat. We didn't waste any time. Passionate nights, guilt-ridden mornings. The thrill and the guilt battled it out inside me, each one trying to outdo the other. I felt alive, but I also felt like I was teetering on the edge of a precipice. Returning home was like stepping into a different world. The guilt was overwhelming, suffocating. I couldn't even look Mark in the eye. Yet, part of me was exhilarated by what I'd done. Thomas's texts kept coming, each one a reminder of the risk I was taking. He wanted more, and damn it, so did I. But the risk of discovery loomed large, casting a shadow over my every move. Thomas and I began meeting in secret more frequently. Each encounter was a cocktail of passion and fear of getting caught. There was this addictive thrill, a high I couldn't get enough of. I found myself concocting elaborate excuses to slip away, my lies becoming more intricate and desperate. It was like playing with fire, knowing it could all go up in flames at any moment. At home, the guilt gnawed at me like a persistent mosquito buzzing in my ear. My behavior changed. I was more irritable, snapping at Mark over the smallest things. He, sweet oblivious Mark, attributed it all to stress at work. If only he knew the real reason behind my mood swings and sleepless nights. Sarah, on the other hand, wasn't so easily fooled. She noticed the change in my demeanor and, being the perceptive best friend that she is, suspected my relationship with Thomas was more than I had initially let on. Her confrontation was like a bucket of cold water. She expressed her concern, her words dripping with worry about the potential fallout. Her fears planted seeds of doubt and fear in my mind. What if this all blew up in my face? What if Mark found out? One evening, the universe decided to test just how close to the edge I was willing to go. Mark came home early. Thomas and I were together, not in any compromising position, thank God, but close enough. We scrambled to make an excuse about work-related stuff. Mark's suspicions were clearly piqued. The tension in the house grew thicker than molasses. Each moment felt like I was tiptoeing through a minefield, waiting for the inevitable explosion. The office wasn't much better. Rumors about Thomas and me began circulating. Colleagues started giving us knowing glances, the kind that said, "We know what's going on." It was like high school all over again, but with higher stakes. Maintaining the facade at work and home became a Herculean task. The pressure was almost unbearable. Every whisper, every side eye felt like a countdown to disaster. The stress of living this double life finally took its toll. One night, I had an emotional breakdown, crying uncontrollably in Sarah's arms. She urged me to end the affair before it destroyed my marriage, her support unwavering yet firm. She made it clear that I needed to make a decision, one that could either save or shatter my life as I knew it. I decided to end the affair with Thomas. The risk was too great, the stakes too high. The thought of losing Mark and the life we had built together was too much to bear. I met Thomas one last time, the encounter heavy with sadness and regret. It was like saying goodbye to a part of myself that had burned so brightly, only to be extinguished by the cold reality of my choices. As I walked away from Thomas, my resolve to fix my marriage was solidified, though my heart ached with the weight of what I'd lost. Despite ending the affair, Mark remained distant. It was like living with a ghost of the man I married. His suspicions hadn't abated, and the trust between us was more fragile than a spider's web in a hurricane. I tried to reconnect, doing all the things that used to make him smile, but the shadow of my infidelity loomed over every interaction. I could almost see it, lurking in the corners of our conversations, whispering doubts into his ear. Then came the day that fate decided to throw a Molotov cocktail into my already crumbling world. Mark found one of Thomas's love notes hidden in my purse. I swear, it was like the universe had a sick sense of humor. The confrontation was brutal, inevitable. Mark demanded to know the truth, and for once, I didn't bother lying. What was the point? He already knew. I confessed, the words spilling out like acid, burning away any remnants of trust. And then came the silence. Mark gave me the silent treatment for days, each one stretching out like a year. The house felt cold, uninviting, like a mausoleum filled with memories of happier times. I reached out to Sarah, my ever-reliable confidant, who tried her best to console me. But even her presence couldn't fill the void left by Mark's absence. The silence was a constant reminder of my betrayal. In a desperate attempt to save our marriage, I suggested counseling. Mark reluctantly agreed, and we found ourselves in tense sessions filled with accusations and uncomfortable truths. But those sessions forced us to communicate honestly for the first time in months. It was a painful process, like ripping off a Band-Aid only to find the wound still festering underneath. But then, amidst the counseling, I relapsed. Yeah, brilliant move, right? The pull towards Thomas was too strong, and before I knew it, I was back in his arms, risking everything once again. The thrill was intoxicating, but the guilt? That came back tenfold, wrapping itself around my heart like a vice. What the hell was wrong with me? Sarah discovered my relapse. Of course she did. She always knew when I was up to something. Feeling betrayed by my inability to end the affair, she told Mark. Her actions were driven by a desire to save my marriage, but to me, it felt like the ultimate betrayal. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Mark's eyes held a mix of anger and resignation. I had pushed him too far. And then came the ultimatum. Mark stood in front of me, looking more tired and defeated than I'd ever seen him. He gave me a choice: end the affair for good, cut off all contact with Thomas, or face a divorce. The gravity of the situation hit me hard. This was it, the moment of truth. I had to make a definitive choice for my future, for our future. The realization was like a punch to the gut. There was no more room for deception or half measures. It was time to decide. I met Thomas one last time to say a final goodbye. We chose a quiet cafe far from the usual haunts. It was a painful but necessary step. The look in his eyes was a mix of hurt and resignation. I explained, words fumbling out of my mouth, that I needed to repair my marriage and could no longer continue our affair. Thomas was hurt, but he understood. His final embrace was bittersweet, a mixture of what could have been and what was never meant to be. Rebuilding trust with Mark was like trying to climb Everest in flip-flops. Every step was slow and arduous. We continued counseling, sessions filled with awkward silences and raw honesty. It required patience and transparency, two things I hadn't exactly excelled at lately. But I was determined to make it work, to prove my commitment to our marriage. Every small step forward felt like a victory, every setback a reminder of the long road ahead. Meanwhile, the work gossip intensified. Apparently, word travels fast in the world of office politics. My professional reputation took a hit, and I had to navigate the murky waters of whispered rumors and knowing glances. It was a humbling experience, one that reinforced the very real consequences of my actions. Regaining my colleagues' respect was a battle of its own, one that required a lot of grit and a very thick skin. In an attempt to make sense of my actions, I joined a support group for people who had been unfaithful in their marriages. Sharing my story and hearing others' experiences was eye-opening. It helped me understand the underlying issues that led to the affair. It was a step toward healing and self-awareness, peeling back the layers of my own insecurities and flaws. Mark struggled with his own feelings of betrayal and inadequacy. It was painfully clear that his journey to forgive me was just as challenging as my journey to regain his trust. He confided in a close friend, someone who provided him with much-needed support. Watching him grapple with his emotions was heartbreaking, but it also fueled my determination to make things right. Our families became aware of our issues, adding another layer of complexity to an already tangled web. Navigating their opinions and advice was a tightrope walk. Everyone had something to say, but we had to focus on what was best for our relationship, not on pleasing everyone else. It was difficult, but essential. Sarah and I had a difficult conversation about her decision to tell Mark. Initially, I felt betrayed by her actions, but as we talked, I came to understand her perspective. She acted out of concern, not malice. Our friendship slowly began to heal, acknowledging that true friends sometimes have to make hard choices. It was a painful process, but it was also a reminder of the importance of honesty and loyalty. Rebuilding my life was a series of small, deliberate steps. Each day was a challenge, a test of my resolve to fix what I had broken. But in those moments of struggle, there was also a glimmer of hope. A hope that, despite everything, we could emerge from this stronger and more connected than before. A new colleague, James, started at my office. Oh, joy, just what I needed. Another attractive, flirtatious guy to complicate my life. He had this confident swagger, an easy charm that drew people in. And, of course, I found myself drawn to him. It felt like déjà vu, a sickeningly familiar script playing out in front of me. I knew I needed to address my issues head-on to avoid repeating past mistakes. Self-sabotage had become a sport, and I was getting really good at it. One evening, after another stressful day at work, I decided to confide in Mark about my attraction to James. This was not a conversation I looked forward to. But hey, if our marriage was going to survive, we needed brutal honesty. I told him everything, bracing for the fallout. Surprisingly, it marked a turning point. We agreed to be more open with each other about our feelings and temptations. It was awkward as hell, but it also built a stronger foundation of trust. Maybe we were onto something. Then, out of the blue, I received a promotion at work. Yay me, right? Except it required more travel, which meant navigating the challenges of a long-distance relationship. Great, just what we needed. A real test of our renewed commitment. Communication and trust became more crucial than ever. Late-night calls, texts, video chats, our digital lifeline keeping us connected. During one of my business trips, life threw me another curveball. I ran into Thomas. Yep, the universe wasn't done messing with me yet. The encounter was unexpected and filled with unresolved tension. But this time, I stayed strong. I avoided falling back into old patterns, remembering how much I had to lose. It was a close call, but I walked away with my resolve intact. Personal growth, yay. Meanwhile, Mark was on his own journey of personal growth. He took up new hobbies and interests to cope with the stress of our relationship. Watching him rediscover his passions and build newfound confidence added a positive dynamic to our marriage. We were growing, both individually and as a couple. It was refreshing and inspiring. We also expanded our support network, including friends and family who understood our journey. Their encouragement and advice helped us navigate the ups and downs, reinforcing the importance of community in overcoming personal struggles. We weren't alone in this, and that made all the difference. Then came the couple's retreat. Mark and I decided to attend one to reconnect on a deeper level. The experience was transformative. It allowed us to focus on our relationship without the distractions of daily life. No work, no stress, just us. We talked, laughed, cried, and rekindled our love and commitment to each other. It was like finding each other all over again, but with more wrinkles and a lot more baggage. Rebuilding my life and our marriage was an ongoing process, filled with unexpected twists and turns. Each challenge tested our resolve, but it also made us stronger. We were learning to navigate this new reality together, one step at a time. And despite everything, there was a glimmer of hope, a belief that we could emerge from this stronger and more connected than ever before. Despite our best efforts, I had another relapse with Thomas. It was one of those moments where temptation gnawed at my resolve until I caved. The secrecy reignited the thrill, that dangerous excitement which had always been so intoxicating. But the guilt followed swiftly, like a shadow I couldn't shake. I knew I was risking everything once again, my marriage, my sanity, my future. Mark discovered the relapse through a series of text messages. Brilliant move on my part, right? The look on his face when he confronted me was a devastating mixture of anger, hurt, and resignation. The sense of betrayal in his eyes was profound, cutting deeper than any previous wound. I feared this might be the breaking point for our marriage. Maybe this time, I'd pushed him too far. Mark confronted Thomas directly. I wasn't there, but I could imagine the scene. Mark, usually so composed, finally losing his cool. The confrontation was heated, and it was clear that the situation was spiraling out of control. The fallout was immediate and ugly. I realized I had to take a firm stand if there was any hope of saving my marriage. This was it, the last chance to make things right. I begged Mark for one last chance. I promised complete transparency and committed to cutting off all contact with Thomas permanently. It wasn't an easy conversation, filled with tears and desperation. Mark's willingness to consider my plea showed his deep love and hope for our future. He wasn't giving up on us, even though I'd given him every reason to walk away. We intensified our therapy sessions, diving deeper into the root causes of my infidelity and how we could rebuild our relationship. The sessions were emotionally draining, peeling back layers of hurt and mistrust. But they were necessary for our healing process. We couldn't move forward without first addressing the wreckage we'd left behind. I took time for personal reflection, a soul-searching journey into my own motivations and fears. Why did I keep seeking out Thomas despite the consequences? It was crucial for my growth and for understanding what needed to change within myself. Facing those dark corners of my psyche wasn't pretty, but it was essential. The turning point came during one particularly intense therapy session. We had a breakthrough, finally addressing the underlying issues in our marriage, the communication breakdowns, the unmet emotional needs. It was like a fog lifting, giving us a clearer view of the path ahead. This progress gave us a glimmer of hope, a tentative belief that maybe, just maybe, we could come out of this stronger. Rebuilding our life together was a journey of small, deliberate steps. Each day presented a new challenge, a test of our resolve to mend what was broken. But amidst the struggles, there were moments of connection and understanding that made it all worthwhile. Despite everything, there was a flicker of hope, a belief that we could emerge from this crisis stronger and more united than ever before. We established new boundaries in our relationship. It was like setting up an emotional perimeter around our fragile hearts. Clear communication about our needs and feelings became a non-negotiable part of our daily lives. These boundaries weren't just lines in the sand. They were lifelines helping us navigate the treacherous waters of rebuilding trust and intimacy. Positive habits became our new norm. We started regular date nights again, nothing fancy, sometimes just a walk in the park or a movie night at home. It wasn't about the activity, it was about being together. We also began having open discussions about our emotions, no matter how uncomfortable. These habits strengthened our bond, providing a much-needed sense of normalcy amidst the turmoil. Sarah, bless her heart, remained a crucial part of my support system. Our friendship deepened as we navigated the challenges together. Her unwavering support and occasional sarcastic quips helped me stay committed to my path of redemption. Knowing she had my back made the journey a bit more bearable. In a bid to reduce stress and temptations, I decided to shift my career focus. The high-stakes environment of my previous role had been a breeding ground for my poor choices. A fresh start was in order. Realigning my priorities to focus more on my personal life and relationship with Mark felt liberating. It was a change that brought clarity and a renewed sense of purpose. We engaged in trust-building exercises, both in therapy and at home. They felt like trust falls for the soul, scary as hell but necessary. Each exercise was a step toward rebuilding the broken trust between us, fostering a deeper understanding and connection. Slowly but surely, the cracks in our relationship began to mend. Spending more time with family became our new mantra. Family gatherings and activities provided solace and strength, reminding us of our roots and the importance of our relationship. Whether it was a Sunday barbecue or a simple game night, these moments helped us reconnect and find stability in the chaos. Mark and I also explored new hobbies together. Hiking and cooking became our favorite pastimes. There's something about trudging up a mountain trail or trying not to burn dinner that brings people closer. These shared activities provided a positive outlet for our energy and emotions, creating new memories to replace the painful ones. The culmination of our efforts was marked by a decision to renew our wedding vows. We wanted to symbolize our commitment to each other and our willingness to move forward, leaving the past behind. The ceremony was intimate, just us and a few close friends. Standing there, promising ourselves to each other once more, felt like a rebirth. It was a declaration that we were ready to face whatever came our way, together. Rebuilding our life wasn't a straight path. It was filled with twists and turns, setbacks and triumphs. But every step forward, no matter how small, was a victory. Our journey was far from over, but with each day, our bond grew stronger, fortified by the trials we had faced and the love that had endured. It was just another Tuesday at the office, and I was knee-deep in spreadsheets when Thomas showed up. Seriously, universe? Haven't I had enough drama for one lifetime? He looked desperate, practically begging for another chance. My heart pounded in my chest, but I stood my ground. This was my final test. I told him in no uncertain terms that my commitment was to Mark now. As tense as the encounter was, it proved to me that I had changed, that I was ready to truly move on. Mark began to show signs of forgiveness. Slowly, cautiously, he started to open up and allow himself to trust me again. Each small gesture, each tentative smile, was a powerful step toward healing. His willingness to forgive reinforced my resolve to make things right. It was like watching the sun rise after a long, dark night. Of course, just as things were looking up, the workplace drama reared its ugly head. Rumors about Thomas and me resurfaced, causing tension and stress. I handled the situation with as much integrity as I could muster, focusing on my work and maintaining professionalism. It was exhausting, but necessary. Gradually, my approach helped rebuild my reputation and earn back my colleagues' respect. It felt like climbing a steep hill, but every step was worth it. Sarah continued to be my rock. Her support was unwavering, and our friendship grew stronger as we navigated the complexities of life together. Her loyalty and advice were invaluable during the most challenging times. She had this knack for knowing exactly what to say, often laced with just the right amount of sarcasm to lighten the mood. We celebrated our anniversary with a renewed sense of love and commitment. It wasn't just another date on the calendar, it was a milestone marking how far we had come. We'd put in the effort, faced the pain, and emerged stronger. It was a moment of pure joy and reflection. We toasted to our journey, acknowledging the hard work it took to rebuild our marriage. Personal growth remained a priority. I continued attending therapy and focusing on self-improvement. It wasn't always easy, facing my flaws and working on myself, but it was essential for maintaining a healthy relationship with Mark and preventing future mistakes. Each session, each step forward, was a reminder of how far I'd come and how much further I could go. Then came the new beginning. We moved to a new home, a fresh start in every sense. The move allowed us to leave behind the memories of the past and build new, positive experiences together. It was more than just a change of scenery, it was a physical and emotional new beginning. The boxes we unpacked held more than just our belongings, they held our hopes for the future. Rebuilding our life together was a continuous journey, filled with tests and triumphs. Each challenge we faced and overcame brought us closer, making our bond stronger. Despite the hurdles, there was a persistent glimmer of hope, a belief that our love could withstand anything. As we settled into our new home, I felt a sense of peace and optimism that had been missing for a long time. We were ready to face whatever came next, together. Our connection deepened as we spent more quality time together. It was amazing what a little effort and intention could do. We delved into trust exercises, which were awkward at first but ultimately enlightening. Open communication helped us understand each other on a new level, strengthening our bond. It felt like discovering each other all over again, but with the added wisdom of our past mistakes. We decided to host a gathering with close friends, including Sarah and her partner. The evening was filled with laughter, joy, and maybe a bit too much wine. It showcased the support network we had built and the positive changes in our relationship. Sarah, ever the life of the party, made sure everyone felt the warmth and love in the room. It was a beautiful reminder of how far we had come. Our counseling sessions took on a new tone, focusing more on maintaining the positive changes rather than addressing crises. This shift indicated our progress and the stability we had achieved in our relationship. We were no longer firefighting, we were building something sustainable. It was a relief to see our therapist nod approvingly rather than raise an eyebrow in concern. On the career front, I achieved significant success in my new role. Gaining recognition and respect from my peers was a huge confidence booster. Professional satisfaction contributed to my overall well-being and, by extension, positively impacted my marriage. I was no longer the stressed, frazzled mess I had been. Instead, I felt in control and capable, qualities that spilled over into my personal life. Mark and I decided to go on a romantic getaway. It was the perfect escape, allowing us to focus solely on each other without the distractions and stresses of daily life. Rekindling the spark was easier than I thought. Long walks on the beach, candlelit dinners, and lazy mornings in bed. It was the stuff of rom-coms, minus the cheesy dialogue. The trip reaffirmed our love and commitment, reminding us why we fought so hard to stay together. We became more involved in our community, participating in volunteer activities and social events. This involvement strengthened our sense of purpose and connected us with supportive individuals and families. There was something incredibly fulfilling about giving back and being part of something larger than ourselves. Plus, it was a great way to build new, positive memories together. Celebrating milestones, both big and small, became a regular part of our lives. Whether it was an anniversary, a work achievement, or just surviving a particularly rough week, we acknowledged our efforts and progress. These celebrations reinforced our commitment to each other and provided moments of joy and reflection. It was these little victories that kept us moving forward. Life was far from perfect, but we were stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever. The rebuilt foundation of our relationship stood firm, a testament to our resilience and love. Each day was a new opportunity to grow, to love, and to cherish the life we had fought so hard to rebuild. And as we navigated the ups and downs, one thing was clear. We were in this together, now and always. Our intimacy deepened, both emotionally and physically. Renewed trust and open communication allowed us to connect on a deeper level, enhancing our relationship in ways I hadn't imagined. It was like rediscovering each other, finding new depths of connection that made every moment more meaningful. The awkwardness of the past was replaced by a comforting familiarity, a closeness that felt like home. We began making future plans, mapping out dreams and goals like excited teenagers. Travel destinations, long-term goals, even silly bucket list items. Each plan symbolized our commitment to building a life together. It was exhilarating to look forward to a shared future, to envision a life filled with adventures and achievements. We weren't just surviving, we were thriving. New challenges inevitably cropped up, but we tackled them together. Work stress, family drama, unexpected financial hiccups. Each issue was approached with the tools and strategies we had learned. Our bond was tested, but every challenge strengthened our relationship. We laughed at the absurdity of some situations, faced others with grim determination, but always, we faced them together. Expanding our family became a topic of discussion, filled with hope and excitement. The possibility of having children added a new layer to our relationship, a new chapter to look forward to. We talked about names, parenting philosophies, and the kind of home we wanted to create. It was a conversation that symbolized growth and the endless possibilities of our shared future. Our journey reinforced our lifelong commitment to each other. Every struggle, every triumph, made us stronger. We vowed to continue supporting and loving each other through all of life's ups and downs. It wasn't a fairy tale, but it was real, grounded in the experiences that had shaped us. Our love endured, transforming from the fragile bond it once was to a strong, resilient connection. The journey had been challenging, filled with moments of doubt and fear, but it brought us closer, solidifying our commitment to each other. We had created a lasting foundation for our future, one built on trust, understanding, and an unbreakable bond. In the end, it wasn't about the destination but the journey. Every step we took, every hurdle we overcame, brought us to this moment. A moment of enduring love, of lasting commitment, of a future filled with hope and endless possibilities. We had faced the storm and emerged stronger, ready to face whatever came next, together. And as we stood hand in hand, looking out at the life we had built, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude. For the lessons learned, for the love that had endured, and for the future that lay ahead. It was a journey I wouldn't trade for anything, a journey that had made us who we are. And as we took the next steps forward, I knew, without a doubt, that we were ready for whatever came our